In today's episode, I'm going to discuss the topic of testosterone. I want to find out, why are our testosterone levels declining? Why is there a threat against our God-given masculinity in the physical realm happening right now? And more importantly, I'm going to share with you what I've discovered, and I'm going to give you 5 things you can start doing today to protect yourself against the threat of declining testosterone. Guys, let's get into it. Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of Raising the Standard. This is leadership, mindset, and development for you, the kingdom-driven man. And in today's episode, I want to take on this topic of what the heck is going on with men and their test levels. Our T levels are down. If you look at the research, and I'm going to be sharing some of it with you, you're going to find out that we are falling behind. Decade after decade, year after year, testosterone levels are on the decline. And I really wanted to find out what's driving this, what's happening. And I wanted to share some of the research that's already out there with you. So before I jump right in, I want to give you this disclaimer. And the disclaimer is this: having a Y chromosome, having testosterone in your body makes you a male. It does not necessarily make you a man. On this show, we're all about true manhood, the way that Jesus sets the standard for us. So manhood is defined as true masculinity as we see in the life of Jesus. If you want to learn more about that, I encourage you to pick up the standard, Discovering Jesus as the Standard for Masculinity. So just because you have testosterone, just because you have the right genetic sequence that makes you a male, does not mean you are a true man embodying those virtues and characteristics of what God's design is for us. Now that I said that, I do want to jump right in because this has been a hot topic about what is happening with men's T levels. And Tucker Carlson has done a great job with this. In fact, on Fox Nation, the time I'm recording this, there's a special out right now. It's about 30 minutes or so. It's a great watch if you can see it. It's called The End of Men, and he shares some stats there, and I'm going to share some of the stats that I learned from that documentary. But even before this, for years, something's been happening with men. If we look at the culture around us, if even we look at children, the obesity rates are up, and we're starting to see a big difference between generations that have gone before us and what we're seeing right now. So let me share some of these stats with you because they are pretty alarming. What I discovered is that test levels are down 10% over the last decade. That means every single year that goes by, testosterone levels in men decrease 1%. Guys, that's a big deal. When you start stacking 30, 50 years ago, we're nowhere near what our grandfathers grew up with in terms of the test levels that they had. In addition to that, sperm levels are down 50% over the past 40 years. So this is quite alarming, and it's raising the question, what the heck is going on and what can I even do about it? So I believe this topic is important. If we go back to 2020, a lot of stuff was happening in the world. There was a lot of memes going on around the state of America, what we were seeing in the culture. And there was this one meme you probably saw, this one quote that made its way around the socials. And it was this: hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Dr. Jordan Peterson pushed that quote out there quite a bit. It's actually from an author named Michael Hopf. And this quote describes the cycle of civilization. We can see this reality all through generations past from the beginning of time. When things are hard, men rise up to the occasion and they toughen up and they get things done. And as things get done and as the cycle goes on, we come into easier times, which creates softer men. And I believe that's part of the reason we're seeing the current state of men the way we are in America right now. So this is a really important topic because men have a God-given place in society, in community, definitely with our family. And we are called to be the leaders, the providers, the protectors. And with that comes a level of physicality. I'm not charging everyone here that you have to be a bodybuilder or a power lifter, but you do have to be physically capable and you do want to have energy management because that's part of how we fulfill the call of God on our life, stewarding our physical temple. And the Bible calls our body the temple of the Holy Spirit. So there is inherited within that a stewardship that comes with it, that we should just not treat it carelessly, and we should be good physical stewards of everything that comes into our hand, including our physical bodies. So there's also another picture going around social, and at the time of this episode, I'm going to throw it up on my Instagram. You can follow me at Kingdom Athlete, and you might have seen it. I've seen it on quite a few different channels, and it's a picture, like a split screen of a beach scene. And you can actually see people at the beach in somewhere probably around the 1950s. And on the other side of the screen, you can see current day, what it looks like on a typical American beach. And guys, it's striking. You can see that the people from the older photograph are basically looking like normal human beings. They're, for the most part, in decent shape. Everybody looks like they're at a normal BMI. And when you look at the current state, from a picture taken recently at the beach, you'll see that the majority of the people are all dealing with a level of obesity. And this really causes the question to come up of why? Why is this happening? So we know there's more chronic disease. We know there's more obesity. We know more people are sick. And we also know portion sizes have gone up. We know things are busy. People don't exercise as much as they used to. And what I wanted to discover is there actually more than that happening? Because the stats that I was starting to come across in researching this was that we're even seeing these lower testosterone levels, these lower sperm counts with young, healthy males. And there was a study I came across that showed that in 1980, 30 years ago, people were exercising and eating clean on a diet, and the same exact exercise protocol and diet protocol was followed now, and the people that did it current day were still more obese. They still did not get in the same shape as the people that did it 30 years prior. So there's some kind of environmental factor that's happening right now that's causing people not to get the same result you would actually get if we rewind the clock 30 years ago. Okay, so here's what I want to share with you, and this is what I've discovered. There are harmful chemicals in our environment right now called endocrine disrupting chemicals, also known as EDCs. And these things are not good for us as men. They specifically bind to testosterone and suppress testosterone levels. And they're having a very harmful effect, not only on us as men, but also our boys, our children. Now, a few years ago, there was a movie that came out. It was called Dark Waters. Mark Ruffalo was in it. It's a pretty good movie. You should check it out if you get the chance. And he's a lawyer in the movie, and he's suing the big chemical giant because they've been using harmful chemicals in the sprays and the Teflon and the things that go on pots and pans that we all have meals prepared in. And in this movie, they also bring out, and the chemical they're looking at there specifically is the PFAS chemical, and that chemical is known as a forever chemical. These things don't disintegrate. They don't just disappear in the environment. They stick around forever. And the scariest thing at the end of that movie, they give you some of the stats and some of the facts because the movie was based on a true story. And they share with you that every single American, it might even be every single person in the world, has a level of PFAS in their blood right now because we can't stop it. It's in the environment, and these chemicals just don't go away. They're forever chemicals, and they disrupt our endocrine system. So this is what I found in my research. These EDCs specifically suppress testosterone. That's what a lot of the studies show. In addition to that, we're getting exposed to them every day through normal household products. Here's just a couple things you can look at. Our drinking water has all sorts of chemicals, trace elements, actually trace pharmaceuticals sometimes end up in most of our drinking water. In addition to that, the food, processed foods that go through heavy industrial processes have some of these chemicals in them that will disrupt your testosterone and your endocrine system. Also plastics. Household plastics, any kind of plastic with BPA in it. All of these things can interrupt your hormonal system as a man, and for women as well. And also they're in consumer products, our toiletries, things that we put on our skin, what we wash our hair with, what we brush our teeth with. So literally these things are everywhere. So here's what I discovered. You can't eliminate them. You cannot eliminate EDCs from your environment. However, you can mitigate them. So the question before us is, what can we do? What should we do? And what are we responsible for doing? And going back to my earlier point, I believe you and I are stewards of our physical body. We are stewarding everything that's under our control and under our hand, including our physical strength and health. And I believe we're going to be held accountable to that. So I wanted to share with you what I discovered and some practical steps that I am currently taking right now that I wanted to share with you on the Raising the Standard show. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give you 5 practical things that I'm doing. I'm attempting and trying my best to do these things on a consistent and a regular basis. And I believe every man should. And number one, when it comes to maintaining our testosterone levels at a healthy level and at least trying to stay away from activities and practices that are going to hurt us as men, the number one rule is to get enough sleep. So 7 to 8 hours is best. And I want to give you just a couple best practices when it comes to sleep, things that I've been doing and things I want to share with you. So our body operates on a circadian rhythm, and that rhythm is set by light. So one of the best things you can do upon waking is get direct sunlight. If you can't get direct sunlight, it's really important that you get in front of some light, especially if you're on the East Coast in the winter months. Right now, we just did the time change, and when I wake up, it's dark. I'm an early riser. So I'll tell you what I do. I have a circadian light that I use, and this thing mimics sunlight. I don't stare directly into it, but it is in the room when I'm working, when I wake up, and when I'm doing my morning practices. So number one, make sure that you get up and you get into some light right away. And when the sun does come out, try and get out into the sun and get some vitamin D as soon as you can. It's really beneficial and helpful to set that circadian rhythm. On the other end of the spectrum, what you also want to do is be careful of all the screen time, especially at night. You guys have probably heard this, but blue light actually affects the deeper levels of sleep. So if you're looking at screens, if you're on your phone, even if you're watching TV, but especially computers and tablets, if you have that stuff running right up to the time you go to bed, it does interrupt your sleep cycle, even if you don't think it is. It's not allowing you and it's disrupting you from getting into those deeper levels of sleep, which is really imperative if you want to have optimal hormonal balance in your body. So shut the screens off at least an hour before you go to bed. And if you have to do stuff at night, it's a good idea and a best practice to use some blue light blocking glasses. They definitely can help. All right, guys, number 2 on the list is hydration. I've really been paying attention to the water. As I mentioned earlier, our water is full of chemicals and actually trace pharmaceuticals, which is quite alarming. Depending on where you live, there's going to be a different array of things that are going to be native to the water where you are. What I invested in recently was a Berkey water filter. I'm probably going to switch my entire house over to a filtration system, but for now, I went with the Berkey for a couple reasons. Number one, it's a gravity-fed system that sits right on the countertop, and if anything ever happens with the water lines, I can literally put rainwater, lake water in this thing, and it comes out crystal clean. In addition to that, it uses carbon filters, and they're good for 3 years. So instead of just changing filters all the time, I know that these things are going to last for a while, and I upgraded to the fluoride filters, and I got to tell you, the water tastes amazing. It does taste different, and compared to most mass market water filters out there, my understanding is that a lot of them just remove the chlorine taste, and they don't necessarily do the deep filtering that's necessary if you want to remove those EDCs from your water. So I'm going to give you one more thing when it comes to hydration. What I've also done for over the past year is I got rid of all plastic. And I don't even care if it's BPA free. Honestly, it doesn't taste as good when I drink water or any kind of drink out of plastic. I prefer glass. So I've switched over to glasses in my house, no plastic cups. And also I'm using glass bottles in the gym and throughout the day. The one that I prefer is made by Hydro Jug. They make a 64-ounce glass water bottle. It's wrapped in rubber. I've been taking this thing to the gym for over a year. It cleans great. The water tastes better, and I love it. I'll drop the link below if you want to check out Hydro Jug for yourself. Okay, number 3, my third tip on the list is train with weights. And gentlemen, just don't train high rep, low weight. You have to lift something heavy. You have to stimulate some growth because when you lift something heavy, the studies show that we stimulate growth hormone. It's great for our hormone levels. It's great for our testosterone production. So get out there and lift something heavy. My research has also shown me that high-intensity interval training also works for stimulating testosterone levels. So there's another tip for you if you want to know how to best spend your time in the gym if you're looking to maximize your hormonal response. Okay, the next one is a big one. This is food, and we really got to be careful with what we're putting into our bodies. So I'm going to give you a couple of the main rules that I'm trying my best to abide by, and I want to share with you. So number 1, eat whole foods whenever possible. The less amount of ingredients on the list, the more the food and the closer the food comes from nature, the better it is for you and your hormones. If you're consuming products that go through industrialized processes to make that food, chances are you're picking up EDCs along the way. And right now, all the experts are talking about the number one culprit is seed oils. Seed oils like canola oil, vegetable oil, these oils are high in omega-6, which also have been shown to suppress testosterone levels. So something we want to avoid. And I can just tell you from personal experience, whenever I eat something and if I'm indulging in a fried food and I'm out at a restaurant and they're probably using those cheaper oils because these oils are cheaper, I usually have a bad reaction to them in the form of inflammation. I just feel like crap after. I get stiff, I get achy, and I think a lot of these industrialized processed foods are also causing inflammatory responses. The last rule that I have for you when it comes to food, get enough good organic fats. What I mean by that is don't be afraid of being a meat eater. Eat whole eggs and make sure you're getting fats because that also plays a role in your testosterone levels. Okay, and my last practical tip for you is be careful of the consumer products in your home, specifically your toiletries and any kind of fragrance. These things are known to have EDCs in them. So is it really worth it to put that spray of cologne on if it's disrupting your endocrine system? In addition to that, shampoos, soaps, toothpaste, mouthwash, all of this stuff, if it's not specifically engineered to leave these chemicals out, most likely have a form of EDCs or forever chemicals that are messing with your endocrine system and also potentially suppressing your testosterone levels. I'm going to give a quick plug for a brand that I recently found and I've been using, and these guys are doing amazing work. It's called Legendary Men's Care, and they formed the company specifically to eliminate EDCs and give you a consumer product that we as men can feel comfortable about, knowing that we're not interrupting our endocrine system or suppressing our testosterone levels just by brushing our teeth. So they actually came out with a toothpaste. It's the first product in their lineup. I've been using it now and I love it. There's an AM and a PM formula. I'm going to drop the link below. Check out Legendary Men's Care. But there are small steps you can take which can make a big difference when it comes to storing your physical body and maintaining optimal hormonal balance. All right, guys, and the last thing that I want to close this out with is a quote by President John F. Kennedy. When he was president, he gave a speech, which is absolutely amazing. Go check it out if you can. You can Google the soft American. Guys, this speech would never fly in the current culture of America that we have right now, but he gave a speech that hits hard. And I want to share one quote from this speech because I think it's a great way to charge us as we walk away from this episode and maintaining stewardship and the vigorous life that God calls us to. And here's the quote. All of us must consider our own responsibilities for the physical vigor of our children and of the young men and women of our community. We do not want our children to become a generation of spectators. Rather, we want each of them to be a participant in the vigorous life. Guys, what a great quote. And that's what I want to leave you with. If you want to embrace your God-given masculinity, do something hard every day. Find that challenge, overcome it, take dominion over it, take dominion over yourself, and let's get after it. Hey guys, I wrote a book that went on to become a bestseller. It's called The Standard, Discovering Jesus as the Standard for Masculinity. I would love for you to get this. It's available on Amazon right now. But if you visit standard59.com, you can get the first chapter of the book for free. I want to give you the chapter called Jesus Has a Plan. And you need a plan as well. There's specific areas in your life that you will be attacked in. How do I know? Because Jesus was attacked in these areas as well, and there's a pattern to it. And I want to give you this chapter so you can see how Jesus effectively deploys a plan in his life and how he sets the standard for all men to follow and why we need a plan as well. If you want that chapter, go over to standard59.com and grab it. If you want to get the book, you can get the book on Amazon.com. Thanks for watching today's video, and if something resonated with you, please leave a comment below. Let us know what it was. Tell us what you would like us to explore for future episodes. Go ahead, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and continue to raise the standard.